Welcome to another Cluster Fudge moment where we talk real, talk raw, and talk smart. I'm your host, Alexandra, and today's topic is bound to stir something in you, or maybe scare you into reflection. We're diving deep into the fifth industrial revolution. No, not the sci-fi movie version where robots are running amok, but the very real, very current reality where humanity is replacing itself at work and then crying about the consequences. Let's get uncomfortable. Because we need to. Before we dive headfirst into the fifth industrial revolution, let's rewind, not just for the sake of history, but for context. Because if we don't understand where we've been, we won't truly grasp what's unfolding right in front of us. There's a reason they're called revolutions. Each one flipped the world on its head, not gently, but forcefully. Economies changed, societies morphed, entire cultures were redefined, and yet, each time we called it progress. So let's go back, crash course style. Buckle up. First industrial revolution, late 1700s, early 1800s, the age of steam and muscle substitution. This is where it all began. Picture a world before machines. Everything was powered by human sweat, animal strength, or water wheels. Then came a little invention that would change the game, the steam engine. With steam, we moved beyond nature's limitations. For the first time in history, human labour was replaced, not by other humans, but by a force that didn't sleep, didn't tire, didn't eat. Factories sprang up, especially in Britain. Cotton mills, ironworks, shipyards. Mass urbanisation took off. People left rural life to chase factory wages. And yes, the exploitation was real. Child labour, brutal work hours, squalid housing. Progress had a dark underbelly. But even with all its cruelty, the first industrial revolution introduced the idea that machines could outperform us, and that set a precedent. Second industrial revolution, late 1800s, early 1900s, the age of electricity and assembly lines. Enter electricity, and with it, the power to scale up everything. This was the revolution of speed, standardization, and steel. We weren't just building things, we were building systems. Think Henry Ford and the assembly line. What once took days now took hours. The rise of steel, oil and telecommunications, industries that shaped the modern world. Inventions like the telephone, electric light, and internal combustion engine became daily essentials. Work became mechanical, not just in terms of tools, but in spirit. You weren't crafting something, you were part of a process, a cog in the machine. This revolution gave birth to mass production, but also mass conformity, and a new class of workers who were no longer artisans, but task performers. Third industrial revolution, mid-1900s, late 1990s, the digital awakening. Now we get personal. Many of us were alive during this one. This was the digital revolution, when computers entered the chat. Suddenly, information wasn't physical anymore. It was code, data, binary. The invention of the semiconductor made computing scalable. Mainframes became desktops, desktops became laptops, and software began to automate what used to require paper, pens, and people. This revolution decentralized power. Suddenly, businesses didn't need a whole floor of filing clerks. They needed a server, a spreadsheet, a database administrator. Work went virtual. Skills evolved. But here's what's important. Humans were still in control. We were using machines as tools. They served us. They didn't replace us. Fourth Industrial Revolution, 2000s to 2020s, the smart everything era. Then came the fourth, the one we're still technically living in, though we're already crossing into the fifth. The fourth Industrial Revolution fused the digital with the physical. It's where artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, 3D printing, Internet of Things, and genomics all came together. This is where machines stopped being just tools and started thinking, learning, and adapting. Think self-driving cars that learn traffic patterns. AI algorithms that can detect disease more accurately than doctors. Smart refrigerators that know what groceries you need. It's seductive, it's powerful, it's convenient. But here's the seed of the issue. The more efficient these systems became, the more they displaced the human worker. Not out of malice, not because machines want our jobs, but because we, the humans, designed it that way. We wanted faster, smarter, cheaper, and so we engineered it. Which brings us to the fifth industrial revolution. The fifth is where it gets philosophical. emotional, existential. It's not just about what machines can do, it's about what humans are choosing not to do anymore. We've reached a point where we're not just automating jobs, we're automating judgment, intuition, and even creativity. We're building systems to do us better, cleaner, faster. And the most ironic part, we're both the inventor and the victim. The fifth industrial revolution didn't arrive overnight. It was centuries in the making. It's the child of every revolution before it. Every gear turned, every wire soldered, every code written. And now that it's here, the question isn't, how did we get here? It's, what are we willing to give up next in the name of progress? We'll get to that. But first, we need to talk about the stunning irony of it all. Here's where the contradictions start crawling out of the woodwork. Let's talk about human progress. That shiny term we love to throw around like a badge of honor, as if we've steadily climbed a golden staircase from ignorance to enlightenment. But the truth is far more twisted, because at every turn of so-called progress, there's an undercurrent of self-sabotage. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the fifth industrial revolution. Let's not beat around the bush. We are living in an era where humanity, with full awareness, is building itself out of relevance. We're designing machines, writing code, constructing infrastructure, and training algorithms that perform better than us at the very tasks that define our livelihoods. And what's more, we applaud it. We call it genius. We romanticize disruption, and then we panic. We cry about unemployment. We wring our hands about the death of the middle class. We publish white papers, hold summits, and blame governments for not stepping in to save jobs. Do you see it? The irony is rich. We're the arsonists, sobbing at the fire we set. We worship convenience, then mourn its consequences. Let's be honest. We wanted our food faster, so we created self-service kiosks and food delivery apps powered by AI logistics. We wanted goods cheaper, so we embraced automated warehouses and outsourced labor to places that cost pennies on the dollar. We wanted easier commutes, so we begged for autonomous vehicles. We hated writing long emails, so we handed that off to GPT. But what we didn't want, or maybe didn't consider, was the fallout. The cashier who lost their job to a tablet, the delivery driver replaced by a sidewalk robot, the customer service rep outperformed by a chatbot, the copywriter or journalist replaced by an AI that never sleeps and doesn't need a raise. And yet, we didn't resist these changes. We welcomed them. We said, wow, this is amazing. This is the future. And now, we're surprised there's a reckoning. That's not technological disruption. That's willful ignorance. The tech dream sold to us is built on erasure. You know what else is ironic? We frame all this as freedom. We say that automation will liberate us from boring work, from mundane tasks, from long commutes and pointless meetings. But liberation for whom? For the billionaire class that owns the platforms? For the developers who are still needed to maintain the code? Because for millions of people, especially in vulnerable industries, automation isn't a gift, it's a pink slip. And while we're being sold a dream of frictionless existence, the friction is just being outsourced to the unemployed, to the economically displaced, to the people who didn't get a STEM degree or a seat at the table before it collapsed. It's easy to celebrate progress when you're not the one being replaced. But if we zoom out, humanity is cheering on a machine revolution that quietly reduces its own purpose. That's not ironic. That's tragic. The most dangerous assumption, that we'll adapt in time. Here's another classic self-delusion. We've always adapted before. We'll adapt again. And historically, sure, that's been mostly true. The Luddites feared the loom, the farmers feared tractors, the clerks feared computers. But there's one massive difference now: the speed. These previous revolutions unfolded over decades, even centuries. The current one is moving in real time. AI learns in hours. Robots upgrade overnight. Entire industries are disrupted before regulatory frameworks can even draft their first bullet point. And let's not forget, many of the jobs being lost today can't be replaced one-to-one. When you replace a taxi driver with an autonomous vehicle, there's no new taxi job waiting. And when you eliminate 5 million retail jobs with automation and online checkout, you can't just hand those workers jobs in cybersecurity or data science. Not everyone can just learn to code. That's the kind of tech bro fantasy that ignores class, education, access, mental health, and age. So no, this isn't just another evolution. This is exponential erosion of the human worker's role in society. We want progress, but only if it's comfortable. Here's the final irony. We want all the shiny benefits of progress, but none of the discomfort, sacrifice, or identity shift that comes with it. We want AI to write our emails, but not take our jobs. We want smart machines to do manual labour, but not make labourers irrelevant. We want frictionless lives, but still want to feel needed. We want to keep our cake, eat it, and pretend we baked it. But progress doesn't work that way. It is messy, destructive, and fundamentally indifferent to our feelings. So if we don't confront the irony, and more importantly, the reality of what we're doing to ourselves, then we're not victims of automation. We're just the villains in our own story, paving a road to irrelevance and acting shocked when we arrive at the dead end. Maybe we need to stop pretending the machines are coming for us. They're not invading. They're not overthrowing. We invited them in. We programmed them. We welcomed the takeover. The fifth industrial revolution is not some evil genius with a plan. It's the natural consequence of a culture that prizes efficiency over empathy, productivity over purpose, and ease over endurance. And yet, we keep acting surprised. Let's stop being surprised. Let's start asking better questions. And one of those questions is, what are we really losing when we lose our jobs? We'll tackle that next. Let's be honest, we've all heard the buzzwords: job displacement, labour market disruption, economic transformation. But let's call it what it really is, a job apocalypse. And it's not coming, it's already here. Quiet, steady, dressed in convenience and cloaked in innovation. This isn't the kind of apocalypse with explosions or zombies. It's one with pink slips, disappearing listings, and algorithms quietly reshuffling the future. But before we get too focused on employment statistics, we need to ask a much deeper question. When we lose jobs, what are we actually losing? Because this isn't just about wages. This is about identity. It's about belonging. It's about the very framework through which modern life is built. Let's unpack that. Loss, Mabwan, stability. First, the obvious, financial security. Jobs provide predictable income, access to health benefits, and in many countries, the basic scaffolding for survival: rent, groceries, insurance, transportation. And yet, millions are watching that scaffolding collapse. According to the World Economic Forum, by 2025, 85 million jobs could be displaced by automation. And that estimate is already conservative. Just look around. Retail workers replaced by AI-powered kiosks and e-commerce algorithms. Truck drivers targeted by autonomous vehicle development. Bank tellers, insurance underwriters, legal clerks, even junior programmers, all feeling the heat. The gig economy, once marketed as freedom, now feels more like a treadmill with no benefits, no protection, and no guarantee of tomorrow. When a society loses stable employment, poverty isn't the only outcome. What follows is anxiety, instability, and growing resentment, all of which fuel political radicalization, mental health crises, and fractured communities. Here's where it gets even more serious. Jobs don't just pay the bills. They give people a reason to get up in the morning. It's easy to mock this. You're not your job. But for many people, you absolutely are. Your job defines your routine, your role in society, your feeling of usefulness, your place in a social hierarchy. What happens when a person is told by a robot, by an algorithm, or by a system, you are no longer needed? They don't just lose a paycheck, they lose a piece of their humanity. This is why we're seeing a surge in existential despair across the workforce. Because when work disappears, the vacuum left behind isn't just economic, it's spiritual. And let's not forget, we've been conditioned for generations to equate hard work with worth. No job, no value. That's the brutal subconscious programming of the capitalist machine. There's another dimension to this collapse, and it's one we rarely talk about. Jobs hold communities together. Think about the firehouse in a small town, the local post office, the grocery store where people chat in the checkout line, the factory that sponsored the local baseball team. These weren't just workplaces. They were pillars of identity and interaction. They gave people places to gather, reasons to engage, and built-in support systems. As automation wipes out job clusters, especially in rural areas and former industrial strongholds, We're not just watching individual layoffs, we're watching entire communities unravel. Churches lose parishioners, local businesses lose customers, schools shut down, crime increases, despair festers. This is the slow-burning side of the apocalypse, the collapse of everything that kept people connected. Here's a dark realization. When people don't work, they lose leverage in society. Work is what gives people voice. It's how you participate in the economy, in politics, in civic life. It's what lets you demand rights, unionize, vote with your dollar, or even strike. Without work, you become invisible. What does society do with the invisible? It forgets them, marginalizes them, blames them. We're watching this in real time, people shamed for not being able to keep up, for not having skills, for not evolving with the market, as if economic survival is purely a matter of motivation rather than access and opportunity. And what fills that power vacuum? Authoritarianism, populism, division, because when people are desperate and powerless, they become easy to manipulate. Let's be clear, not all work deserves mourning now. Let's take a breath. Not all jobs were good. Some were exploitative, dehumanizing, and dangerous. No one is crying over the death of child labor or coal dust poisoning lungs in a shaft. But that's not what's being lost here. What's being lost are millions of dignified, decent, vital roles that gave ordinary people the means to live a stable, purposeful, and participatory life. And they're not being replaced with something better. They're being replaced with nothing, unless you count AI prompt engineering and crypto grifting. We're not just losing jobs, we're losing structure, self-worth, social bonds, power, belonging. And unless we start confronting this head-on, not with lip service, but with vision and policy, the fifth industrial revolution won't just disrupt society, it'll hollow it out. This is the job apocalypse. It's real, it's here, and it's deeper than numbers on a Labour report. It's not just a skills gap we're facing, it's a meaning gap. It's a community gap. It's a future gap. And if we don't start talking seriously about what replaces meaningful work, we won't be able to hold society together long enough to enjoy all the progress we're chasing. Which brings us to the heart of the matter. Are we really evolving or just erasing ourselves? Let's tackle that next. Would you like me to now expand on segment 4? Are we replacing ourselves or evolving? Let's get brutally honest. The fifth industrial revolution isn't just about technology. It's about power. It's about class. It's about a growing divide between those who build and own the machines and those who are being quietly replaced by them. We need to talk about the rise of a new techno-elite and the dangerous illusion that this future is being shaped for all of us. Because, spoiler alert, it's not. This isn't progress for the people. It's progress for the few. And silence, struggle, and invisibility for the many. Who's driving the revolution? Let's ask the obvious question. Who's actually building the fifth industrial revolution? The AI engineers, the venture capitalists, the CEOs of big tech, the platform architects, robotics firms, and machine learning researchers. A small, hyper-educated, well-connected and well-funded class of technologists and investors concentrated in urban innovation hubs like Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, Seoul and Berlin. They have the skills, the tools, and most importantly, the equity. They're not just participating in this revolution, they're profiting from it, and they're doing it under the banner of progress. But let's be real, this is not progress for everyone. This is a carefully engineered shift of power and capital to a consolidated elite, one that's insulated from the fallout they're creating. At the fantasy of opportunity for all. You've heard the narrative, haven't you? AI will open new jobs. We're creating the future of work. Anyone can participate. You just need to learn to code. Let's pause right there. Learn to code? Let's unpack that. Does every displaced coal miner in West Virginia have access to a quality computer, high-speed internet, and advanced math education? Does a single mother working 2 jobs have time to teach herself Python after putting her kids to bed? Does the 55-year-old factory worker with no college degree and no digital literacy really stand a chance at joining a cloud computing bootcamp? This isn't opportunity. It's elitist mythology. It's the equivalent of standing on the rooftop of a burning building and yelling down to the people below, just grow wings. The idea that everyone can transition into this new economy is not only naive, It's dishonest because the system isn't built to bring people up. It's built to automate them out, quietly, cleanly, and profitably. What this divide looks like in practice, let's look at the numbers. The top 1% of tech stockholders have captured a staggering majority of wealth growth from automation and AI. Meanwhile, real wages for the bottom 50% in most developed nations have stagnated or declined when adjusted for inflation. Job retraining programs? Grossly underfunded, poorly designed, and completely disconnected from the reality on the ground. While AI-generated tools boost productivity by 300% in white-collar offices, entire towns are becoming ghost economies, with boarded-up malls, empty warehouses, and dying downtowns. This is not a temporary adjustment. This is systematic exclusion by design. The rise of two parallel societies. We are watching the formation of two civilizations. One, the techno-elite, living in smart cities, managing algorithmic empires, designing frictionless digital futures, investing in longevity treatments and space travel. Number two, the displaced majority, scrambling for gig work, navigating broken safety nets, falling into depression, addiction, and despair, all while being told they just need to reskill. The techno-elite believe in disruption because they don't live in the chaos it causes. They talk about the future of transportation while never setting foot on a public bus. They talk about the next wave of learning while sending their kids to elite Montessori schools. They talk about inclusive design while sitting in rooms with no one who's worked retail in 10 years. Techno-elitism is not just about money, it's about detachment and the ability to ignore consequences. Gatekeeping the future. Let's talk access. Even if you do want to participate in this future, the gateways are narrowing. Want a job in AI? You'll need multiple degrees, unpaid internships, and elite networks. Want to build in Web3? Better be plugged into the VC pipeline and own some crypto assets. Want to break into the gig economy? Get ready to compete with AI that doesn't need rest, food, or wages. This isn't a free market dream. It's a controlled environment where the few set the rules and the rest scramble to survive inside a game designed to keep them out. The dangerous result, a permanent underclass. If we don't intervene, this is what's coming. A world where techno-feudalism becomes the norm, where a handful of platform owners function like lords and everyone else rents access to life. A permanent algorithmic caste system where people are judged, hired, fired, insured, and policed by black box decision-making systems they don't understand and can't challenge. A loss of agency, mobility, and dignity. Not because humans got lazy, but because the system decided they were no longer worth the cost of inclusion. This isn't a warning. This is already happening. Look at warehouse workers with their productivity tracked by AI. Look at Uber drivers whose livelihoods depend on opaque 5-star ratings. Look at online content creators whose income can vanish overnight due to an algorithmic tweak. Human life is being reduced to data, and when your numbers drop, you're disposable. What can be done? So what do? Acknowledge the divide. Stop pretending the playing field is level. Regulate the elite. Break up monopolies, demand transparency in AI systems, tax automation gains, redistribute access, fund public broadband, STEM education, and real retraining that accounts for age, culture, and capacity. Reimagine value, recognize caregiving, creativity, and community work as economic contributions. And maybe, just maybe, we demand that the future includes everyone, not just the people who can build it. The fifth industrial revolution doesn't have to be a tech dystopia, but if we continue letting the few dictate the future, if we keep swallowing this myth that everyone can just adapt, then we're not heading into a new golden age. We're heading into digital feudalism, with billionaires in their castles of code and the rest of us fighting over gig scraps in the digital mud. Next up, are we replacing ourselves or evolving into something new entirely? Let's talk about that. Here's where things get weird. We've talked about job loss. We've talked about elitism, exploitation, and division. But now let's zoom out and ask a far more unsettling question. Are we really just replacing ourselves with machines, or are we evolving into something else entirely? This isn't just about labor. This is about identity, about what it means to be human in an age when being human is starting to feel optional. Let's go there. Human beings as obsolete tech? Think about this. For thousands of years, we've celebrated human abilities, our strength, speed, creativity, memory, and reasoning. But now, machines run faster, calculate quicker, store more, and increasingly they can even create. AI can write novels, AI can compose symphonies, AI can paint, model, animate, and now even perform therapy simulations. AI is learning emotional intelligence, it can mimic empathy, it can even apologize. So, where does that leave us? Are we no longer the top of the food chain, but instead just legacy software waiting to be phased out? Because if machines can outperform us in every measurable way, what exactly are we evolving into? Post-humanism, a new era or a dangerous myth? There's a seductive philosophy rising in tech circles called post-humanism, the idea that the next stage of human evolution will be non-biological, we'll merge with machines, we'll upload our consciousness, we'll transcend death and emotion and messiness. Some call it the singularity, others call it transhumanism. Whatever name you use, the core idea is chillingly clear. Open quote, the human body is a limitation, the human mind is flawed, the human soul is irrelevant, close quote. But here's what no one talks about. Post-humanism isn't some inclusive next chapter for all of us. It's being built and bought by the same elites we talked about in segment 4. People with access to advanced healthcare, custom neuroenhancements, and AI assistance embedded in every decision-making process. This is not evolution in the natural sense. It's curated evolution, with access sold at a premium. So the question becomes, is humanity evolving or is it being hacked? Let's take a moment and consider something more existential. Are we replacing ourselves intentionally, or are we just too short-sighted to realize what we're doing? We didn't set out to make ourselves obsolete. We just wanted faster tools. We didn't set out to undermine our economy. We just wanted efficiency. We didn't set out to erode meaning. We just wanted automation. But step by step, line by line of code, machine by machine, we've been outsourcing our essence: memory, Google; direction, GPS; decision-making, algorithms; companionship, chatbots; even purpose. For many, that's now found in gamified apps or digital validation loops. We've slowly been uploading our humanity into machines without a user manual and with no real plan for what comes next. And now, we're watching as machines start to simulate us better than we simulate ourselves. Is that evolution or extinction by convenience? What makes us human now? Let's pause for a breath here and ask, what still makes us human? If machines can do everything faster and better, what is our role? Maybe it's not in our productivity. Maybe it's in our imperfection, our ability to love irrationally, our capacity for grief and awe, our creativity born from chaos and contradiction, our storytelling, our sacrifice, our spirituality, our stubborn, fragile, beautiful need for connection. These aren't features that can be coded. They're not functions. They're experiences. Maybe what makes us human isn't what we can do, it's what we can feel. And machines can't truly feel. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The threat of losing our humanity in the name of progress. But here's the danger. In worshipping efficiency, speed, and scale, we risk devaluing the very things that make us human. We're being conditioned to believe that if it can't be monetized, measured, or optimized, it doesn't matter. But what about quiet moments of contemplation, slow healing, art that makes no money but changes a soul, time spent raising a child who have loss? Those aren't inefficiencies. They're humanity. If the fifth industrial revolution forgets that, if it replaces not just our labor but our identity, then we're not evolving, we're disappearing. Let's not be completely dystopian here. There is a path forward, a future where machines augment us, not replace us. But it has to be intentional. We need to define what we refuse to automate: empathy, ethics, and existential decisions. We need to protect the soul of education, medicine, arts, and communication. We need to design with humanity in mind, not just profit and performance. And we need to build tech that preserves space for being human in all its messiness, slowness, irrationality, and soul. Because evolving doesn't mean erasing. It means expanding without losing ourselves in the process. So are we replacing ourselves? Maybe. Are we evolving? Hopefully. But the real question is, who's deciding what we become? If we don't reclaim that question, if we don't choose evolution with eyes open, then we're not transforming, we're surrendering. Coming up next, let's Let's close this out by asking the hardest question of all. Is it too late, and what the hell can we do about it? Stay with me. So we've reached the part of the conversation where the optimism starts to feel thin. The train is moving. The machines are learning. The systems are shifting. The rich are getting richer. The middle class is fading. And the bots, they're getting promoted while we're getting laid off. So let's ask the question honestly, not sugar-coated, not watered down. Open quote. Is it too late, close quote, too late to slow the automation train? Too late to create meaningful work for millions of humans? Too late to recenter humanity in a world obsessed with tech? Here's the honest answer. Maybe, but maybe not. Let's break it down. We're not approaching the fifth industrial revolution. We're already deep inside it. Algorithms already decide what news we see, who we date, what we buy, what we believe. Customer service is already mostly AI. Hiring processes are already filtered by AI-driven systems, often with bias baked right into the code. Doctors are consulting machine learning models to diagnose faster. Teachers are using AI tools to personalize learning. And your boss, they're already thinking about how to cut your department and let AI do the same job. Cheaper, faster, quieter. We are not on the edge of change. We're swimming in it. Is it too late? Let me reframe the question. It's not about whether it's too late to stop this revolution, because, newsflash, we can't. But it's not too late to steer it. Not too late to demand that this future be built with ethics, equity, and humanity at its center. Not too late to slow down the greed and speed up the conscious decision-making. Not too late to reclaim what matters and protect what machines can't replace. It's late, but it's not over. What the hell can we do about it? Seriously. You're probably asking, okay, Alexandra, great talk, but what the hell can I do about it? I'm just one person. Fair. So let's break this into levels: personal, community, and systemic. Personal. Redefine what it means to be valuable. Unlearn the myth that productivity equals worth. You are not just a worker. You are not a machine. You are not replaceable because your humanity is your value. Invest in human skills: empathy, storytelling, critical thinking, ethics, conflict resolution, leadership. These are the tools AI can't truly replicate and the ones the world will need most. Don't compete with AI. Collaborate with it. Learn how to work with the tools, not against them, but never forget you are the author of the experience, not the code. Resist the cult of convenience. Stop handing over every part of your life to machines just because it's easier. Be intentional. Reclaim some of your analog soul. Protect the human commons. Support local businesses. AI doesn't build community. People do. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of economy you want. Build mutual aid. As traditional jobs vanish, we need real-world safety nets built by us for us. Neighborhood-level resilience matters. Teach each other. Share skills. The next wave of survival isn't about college degrees. It's about sharing knowledge. Cooking, carpentry, coding, caregiving. These are survival skills in the new age. Talk about it loudly, relentlessly. Don't let this revolution happen in silence. Host discussions, ask hard questions, be the human voice in an increasingly digital world. Demand a human-centered future. Universal basic income, UBI? Yes, we need to talk about it. If machines are going to take the jobs, then wealth needs to be redistributed, period. Tax the bots. If corporations replace workers with AI, they should still contribute to the economy they're disrupting. Machines shouldn't get a free ride. Regulate AI development. We have seatbelts for cars and FDA checks for medicine. Where's the oversight for tech that governs our minds, our jobs, our justice systems? Push for right-to-work protections in the AI era. No worker should be replaced without recourse. No decision-making algorithm should be allowed to operate in a black box. Ethical design must be non-negotiable. AI systems should be built with transparency, accountability, and inclusivity, not just optimized for profit. This revolution is being driven by people who think in data points. We must respond with ethics, compassion, and courage. It starts with a line in the sand. Every revolution has a tipping point, a moment where the masses either wake up or get wiped out. This is our moment. We don't need to destroy the machines. We need to redefine our relationship with them. We need to say, I will not trade my humanity for convenience. I will not watch my neighbours starve while billionaires automate compassion. I will not surrender meaning, dignity, and connection to the false god of efficiency. It's late, but it's not over. This revolution may not be stoppable, but it is still shapeable, and if we want a world where being human still matters, then we better start building it. Together, because if we don't, then the fifth industrial revolution won't just replace jobs, it'll replace us. I'm Alexandra, still human, still fighting, still refusing to go quietly into the code. Stay curious, stay loud, and stay inconveniently, beautifully human.